In this video, we're going to take a look at long multiplication. In this application, Angela spends 298 minutes on the computer each weekday. How many minutes does she spend on the computer in a total of 4 weeks? I want you to pause the video now and try this application on your own, keeping in mind that she spends 298 minutes on the computer each weekday. So it's important to figure out how many minutes she spends on the computer each week. So that would be one multiplication there, and then figure out with a second multiplication how many minutes she spends on the computer in a total of 4 weeks. So go ahead and pause the video now. The simplest way to perform a long multiplication is to write the long number first, then the smaller number underneath that with their significant digits aligned. Now here, Angela spends 298 minutes on the computer each weekday, and then you're supposed to figure out how many minutes she spends on that computer in a total of 4 weeks. Well, as previously stated, it's important to figure out how many minutes she spent on the computer in 1 week, because 298 minutes were spent on the computer each weekday. Now there's 5 weekdays in 1 week. So let's first figure out how many minutes she spent on the computer in 1 week, and then do a second multiplication to figure out how many minutes she then spent on the computer in a total of 4 weeks. The easiest way to do a long multiplication is to write the long number first, so the 298, and then again there's 5 weekdays in 1 week. So in 1 week, if we multiply 298 by 5, we would figure out the amount of minutes she spends on the computer in 1 week. So we write the 5 under the 298, so the 5 is aligned with the 8. Now this number on top, the larger number 298, is called the multiplicand, whereas the number down below, the 5, is called the multiplier. To perform a long multiplication, what we do is take the last digit of the multiplicand, which is the 8, and we multiply it by the multiplier, which is the 5. So 8 times 5 gives us 40, and what we do is we write the 0 of the 40 underneath the 5, but we carry the 4 forward to the next digit in the multiplicand. So we put the 4 on top of the 9, because the 9 is the next digit in the multiplicand. Now we're ready to go on to the next step. We're now going to look at the 9 in the multiplicand, and we're going to multiply it by the 5, the multiplier. Now 9 times 5 gives us 45. However, we carried a 4 forward, so we're going to have to add the 4 to the 45, which gives us 49. Now we're going to write the 9 of the 49 underneath that digit, and we're going to carry the 4 from the 49 forward. And we're going to place it on top of the next digit of the multiplicand, which is the 2. So we're ready to go on to the next step. We're going to take a look at the 2 from the multiplicand, and we're going to multiply it by the multiplier 5. 5 times 2 gives us 10. However, we carried a 4 forward from the previous step, so 10 plus 4 gives us 14. And that right there is our answer. And our answer is actually called the product. So 1,490 minutes is the product, and it's the amount of minutes that Angela spends on the computer each week, because there's 5 weekdays in a week. Now the second part is asking you to figure out how many minutes she spends on the computer in a total of 4 weeks. So we're going to take our product, which is 1,490 minutes, and we're going to multiply this by 4 to represent 4 weeks. Now again, we align our least significant digits. We place the larger number on top and the smaller number underneath. And now the 1,490 is our multiplicand, and the 4 is our multiplier. So we're going to repeat the process. We're going to start with the last digit of the multiplicand, the 0, and multiply it by the multiplier, which is the 4. 0 times 4 gives us 0. So that was easy. Now we're going on to the next digit of the multiplicand, which is the 9, and we're going to multiply it by the multiplier, the 4. Well, 9 times 4 gives us 36. So we write the 6 from the 36 down below the 9, and we carry the 3 from the 36 forward above the next digit in the multiplicand. Our next step is to take the 4 from the multiplicand and multiply it by the multiplier of the 4. 4 times 4 gives us 16, but we need to add the 3 that we carried forward from the previous step. So 16 plus 3 gives us 19. So we're going to write the 9 from the 19 down below the 4, and we're going to carry the 1 from the 19 forward above the next digit of the multiplicand. Lastly, we're going to take our last digit of the multiplicand, which is the 1, multiply it by the multiplier, which is the 4. 4 times 1 gives us 4, but we need to add the 1 that we carried forward from the previous step. So 4 plus 1 gives us 5. And that right there is the product. So therefore, Angela spent 5,960 minutes on the computer in the 4 weeks.